Welcome into the Fantasy Trading Room, hosted by Faceoff Sports Network, and today we're going to be diving into a way too early 2025 Dynasty Rookie Mock Draft. And even though we just finished up 2024 rookie drafts, it's never too early to look ahead because now people are going to be buying and selling these 2025 rookie picks. And even if you don't know all the prospects, I'll be honest, I haven't done a total deep dive into all of them. It's a good idea to get a general outline of the class, these prospects, because you'll get a good understanding of the strength and weaknesses of this class and where you should be buying, where you should be selling, and what you should be doing with your picks. Now, starting off at pick 101, this is a Superflex format, so we are going to be going Carson Beck, quarterback out of Georgia. And this quarterback class is fairly weak compared to last year, at least from what we know right now. But I do like Beck a good amount. He wasn't necessarily fantastic from the stat sheet or on film. He had 3,900 yards, which is good. Only 24 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, so solid. But he doesn't have a ton of rushing upside. However, I do like what I see on film. He's very clean. He gets the ball at an efficient clip, and he has that prototypical size at 6'4", 215 pounds. So I think he will be a top draft pick next year. Right now, I'm going to be looking at Tankathon, and he's predicted to go 5th overall. And I've also seen him go at 1 in different mock drafts. However, Tankathon does a great job doing detailed mocks year in and year out. So we are going to be looking at them for our number one source. However, he has great ball velocity, 3-level accuracy, and in a Superflex format, I feel much more confident about Beck than any of the quarterbacks below. So I'm going to grab him here at 1 because I think there is a big tier drop-off, and obviously quarterback is crucial in these Superflex leagues. Now at 2, we have Tetairoa McMillan. I believe that's how you say his name, and he's a guy I am absolutely in love with. The man is an absolute freak. I'm sure you've seen these clips on Twitter going viral. But if you go and watch his game film, just watch some of his highlights, you will fall in love with him as well, as I'm seeing him go up and make these crazy, ridiculous one-handed catches. Obviously, that's not everything, but it just seems like his catch radius is unreal. Everything that sticks to his hands, he's coming down with. If he puts 2 fingers on it, 3 fingers on it, that ball is coming down in his possession. And I was absolutely shocked to learn he is 6'5", 210 pounds. There's no way he should be moving like that. He's not, he's not the fastest receiver ever, but he moves very, very well for being that big. I had no idea he was that massive. Even if, Arizona's exaggerating that a little bit, you can tell the dude is a big man from these pictures and just watching him a little closer than I was initially. So obviously he has through-the-roof upside, but we saw his production as well, and he had 90 catches for 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. So he's not just a projection. He proved it on the field. He proved it on the stat sheet, which is perfect for fantasy football. Now, Tankathon and a few other mock drafts have McMillan lower than the player we're going to talk about next, Luther Burden. And I'll be honest, I don't really understand why. A lot of people have Burden as the wide receiver 1 right now. I think he's a great player. I just love McMillan a lot. So if there's a valid reason, if there's something I'm missing, please let me know in the comment. But personally, I'm going to put McMillan because he kind of just beats out Burden in every single aspect of what I'm looking for in a wide receiver and what I've seen so far in film. That said, at 3, we do have Luther Burden, receiver out of Missouri, and he's projected to be, a lock for a top 2 receiver. He's over McMillan a lot of times, but he's definitely going to be one of those top 2 guys, and for a good reason. He's playing with a mediocre quarterback, but he had 86 catches for 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns as a junior. According to PFF, he's projected to be the number 1 overall pick. Probably not super realistic based on the quarterback market. So like I said, we're going to Tankathon. They have him at 10, which is more realistic, but obviously a top 10 NFL draft pick is a player that I'm going to be targeting super, super high, especially if I think he has a super, high floor and ceiling combination. But at 4, we are going to have Shedeur Sanders, and without a doubt, he's the most polarizing player in college football right now. I'm a little bit higher on him, and his projections are all over the place. I've seen him be projected number 1 overall. I've seen him projected in the back half of the first round, the middle of the first round. Tankathon has him 6 overall, and I think that's, pretty possible if he has a great 2024 season. But it seems like everyone can agree that he's going to be a first-round pick next year, which is pretty reasonable to have him at 4 in a Superflex format. Now, as a junior, he had 3,200 yards, 27 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So what I really like about Sanders is he does a good job taking care of the ball. Obviously, his arm talent pops off the page. That's the number one thing I love about him. I think anyone watching him understands that. His main issue is, can he use that arm talent to make the right decisions consistently? He does take care of the ball well, but he doesn't necessarily progress the reads, put the ball exactly where it should be all the time. You can say that about any player, but I think it's even more prevalent with Sanders. Has a good frame, 6'2", 215 pounds, good mechanics, and moves well in the pocket. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of controversy surrounding Sanders, so he needs to lock in next year, and I think he has a good shot to be a top 10 NFL draft pick. At 5, we have Quinn Ewers, and a lot of people hate Quinn Ewers. A lot of people love him. I've seen him going higher than Sanders a lot in mock drafts, but I think he is a good player, and even though I'm not as confident in him because playing with Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, I thought he should have been much better than he actually was. Only had 3,479 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Good season, not great season when you have a first-round receiver, borderline second, early second-round pick, and Adonai Mitchell. I think it could have been a lot better. Now, when looking at these younger players, I do like to take their high school pedigree into account at least a little bit. Ewers was phenomenal coming out of high school, was a 5-star prospect, had a perfect 2.47 score of 100, and was the number 1 player in this class. So that kind of just backs up my thinking that he does have tools. He showed off a strong arm. He has, the off-platform throwing ability, and he's just a solid player overall. I think there's just a lot of things that he needs to take to the next level in 2024 to prove that he belongs in the middle of the first round. I think as long as he doesn't absolutely screw up, though, there will be a team that wants to take him somewhere in the first round with how this quarterback market is right now. At 6, though, we have Emeka Egbuka. I was super high on him last year, but he did decide to return to Ohio State. Smart move by him because he suffered an ankle sprain in 2023, causing a drop in production. But what I want to look at his sophomore season, where he was playing next to Marvin Harrison Jr., had 74 catches, 1,151 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Monster season, playing against one of the best receivers in the business. We obviously saw where Harrison went this year. So seeing him produce at that kind of level is absolutely unbelievable. Projected to go pick 21 in Tankathon. I think in a weaker receiver class per se, it almost seems like he's a first-round lock. I really like him. But he has good speed, good route running, and gets open with ease. So in PPR leagues especially, I think he should be a monster and has the potential to be a great receiver. Now at 7, we have our first running back. This year's running back class, I think, is much stronger than last year. And that's going to be Quinshon Judkins, running back from Ohio State, newly transferred there. But according to Tankathon, he's projected to go 28th overall. Getting this draft capital on the running backs is super important to me. So I am going to be looking into this. Obviously, it's not gospel, but I think that makes sense. It seems like a lot of teams are going to be projecting Judkins out as a first-round talent. And I'm going to put Judkins over these other guys because he had the more productive 2023 season than a guy like TreVeyon Henderson. Obviously, Ollie Gordon was different, but the level of competition was not the same. So kind of just comparing him to Henderson, the other Ohio State running back. And he had 22 passes caught in the backfield, even though he did only have a yards per reception mark of 4.5. He's not a great pass catcher, but I think that there is something there. He's a menace in the open field, has plus speed, and more importantly, has a great burst. So pure runner, fantastic. Showed solid pass catching ability last year. Needs to improve that this year if he wants to be considered a serious 3-down back. But I think as a pure runner, he is the number 1 back in this class besides maybe Ollie Gordon. But he's at 8 right now. I'm just not sure how to rank Gordon because I don't want to overreact to his stats in film when I'm looking at the strength of schedule for Oklahoma State. It's much worse than Ole Miss. It's much worse than Ohio State. So I'm going to have him at the middle. I'm going to have Ollie Gordon at 8. And from a statistical perspective, not even close. Best statistical season with 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, caught 39 passes for 6.4 yards per reception. So from that metric, the man is an absolute stud. But like I said, he does play significantly worse competition than the other 2 running backs in this first round. And he is going in the early second round on Tankathon, but sites like Pro Football Network have him as a late first-round pick. So somewhere in between there, I think, is where he's going to land up. Obviously, seeing him behind Judkins in a majority of mock drafts kind of just tells us that I think NFL teams are going to prefer Judkins producing, especially as a pure runner. However, I'm not entirely sure. I think you can make the argument to put Gordon over Judkins, and that honestly might, be what I'll end up doing. I just don't want to overstep, putting him super high when he's playing at a worse school like Oklahoma State. But he does have a 3-down size, 6'1", 211 pounds. He can get through the hole very well, use the size and catch the ball. He looks like the complete package, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him at 7 in the next mock draft I do. At 9, though, we are going to have TreVeyon Henderson, running back out of Ohio State. He was a player I was lucky enough to see in person last year, and he looked great. However, he hasn't played in 10 games or more than 10 games since his freshman year due to his ongoing battle with injuries, which is never something you want to see out of a player, and more importantly, a running back. That said, he had 1,248 rushing yards in his freshman season on only 183 carries and scored 15 touchdowns. And having Judkins there in 2024 should be good for his health, but it might cause him to be a little overshadowed. I don't think he's going to rise as much as people that are believers in him think he will. Caught 27 passes as a freshman, was pretty efficient, 7.4 yards per reception. Down year in 2023, 19 catches for 6.6 yards per reception. So that's something I like to see. Isn't a, unbelievable pass catcher. I don't really think a lot of the guys in this class are, but yards per reception mark, so she's efficient, which is something I look for in a lot of these backs. Also has the size to be a 3-down back and has, a pretty decent skill set all around, mainly as a pass catcher. But I'm a little concerned about his health. That said, he's probably going to be a mid to late first-round pick, which is obviously amazing draft capital for running back. I'm going to keep this in mind. Now, after pick 9, I'm a lot less confident in any of these picks, but I do like Jalen Milroe due to his rushing upside. The quarterbacks I mentioned above, they're all great players, but none of those guys really have almost any rushing upside, so I kind of want to spice in Milroe in here. I think he is a good player that has the upside to grow a lot in 2024. Had 2,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions with not necessarily a great receiver room. Obviously, he played at Bama, but they haven't been the same as of late, so kind of keep that in mind. On the ground, he ran for 531 yards and 12 touchdowns, but sacks count for against a player's rushing yards, so it's a lot better than that in reality. Projected to go 43rd overall on Tankathon. Didn't really see him going even in the late first in other mock drafts. That said, we see how the NFL values quarterbacks. I've said this time and time again, but Bo Nix was taken 12th overall. And even though many projected him as a second-round talent, if there's one team that is very unhappy with their quarterback play, they're going to be willing to reach on him, and I think there is a good chance that he improves and at least sneaks in to the end of the first round, giving him good draft capital or good enough draft capital to be in the late first round with his rushing upside. Now, 11, these are 2 receivers that are pretty close for me. I have Evan Stewart, receiver out of Oregon right now, and he's currently being viewed as the consensus wide receiver 4 in NFL mock drafts. And the reason I like him a lot is because he had a breakout year as a freshman. Obviously, that's something that we want to look for in these later guys. Caught 53 passes for 649 yards, only 2 touchdowns. And the reason why I am going to knock against him is because he's 6 foot, 175 pounds, and is a deep threat. It's not that I don't like the smaller receivers. It's the fact that these guys are going to be much better in real life than in fantasy because they're going to be used to take the top off the defense and create space underneath, but that doesn't give us fantasy points. And people don't understand that. They just want the big plays, but I would rather have that PPR monster over the middle of the field or the short end of the field. So that's why I don't like Stewart as much as maybe other people will. That said, he actually looked very good in the middle of the field and as a deep threat. So that's another, plus I have on him above these other guys. And Texas A&M, where he played last year, he showed elite speed, crisp route running, and ability to track the ball. And right now in Tankathon, projected to go 26 overall in the NFL draft. So that's great as well if he gets first-round draft capital, even if it's a little bumped up and inflated due to what NFL teams think of him versus what fantasy owners should be expecting. Now, to end this round, we are going to have Isaiah Bond, receiver out of Texas. Didn't play at Texas last year, was at Alabama, and didn't have a great freshman season. He's also a smaller receiver at 5'11", 182 pounds, and he's also projected to go behind Stewart. Tankathon has him at pick 34. I think he's a slightly better deep threat than Stewart, in my opinion, but I don't think he's nearly as good on short and intermediate routes, which, like I said, I would rather have a guy that's better in the short game and intermediate game for fantasy football and especially PPR leagues. He has a slender frame, but he's good at winning in press coverage, which is a good plus for his profile. He showed off phenomenal footwork, hands, and yak ability at Alabama. So overall, I do like him. Obviously, projected as a first-round pick in dynasty drafts, which is nothing to scowl at, but definitely don't love him as much as any of these wide receivers up top, or even a quarterback like Jalen Milroe, and a running back like Henderson, Gordon, or Quinshon Judkins. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the mock draft. And this isn't going to be perfect, but we are going to be doing these more and more as the 2025 NFL draft gets closer. This is just our baseline for the year. So if you guys enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.